Another contradiction Chesterton presents us to. He says that Thomas Aquinas, let me read the quote to you. Thomas Aquinas was always defending the independence of dependent things. This when he was talking about free will. So, of course, the old question of free will versus determination, right? Questions like how is it possible that you have free will if God has all the power? And if God knows what is going to happen, how is it possible that we are able to choose? Doesn't God condemn us? Hmm? Well, this question could be a very complex question, but let's try to focus on this sentence, right? According to Chesterton, uh, Thomas Aquinas was always defending the independence of dependent things. So, in other words, we are dependent and we have independence. How does that explain free will? Explains free will and also explains the damnation, right? What will happen to people that will decide to use their free will badly. And also explains something that is pretty strange. Heidegger affirmed that, of course, in philosophical terms, in his work Time and Being. Heidegger reached the conclusion. By the way, this was uh, he reached in his extremely complex work, but it was already common sense to Christians in Christendom during the Middle Ages, and before, right? So for a true Christian, always has been. That is what that you are free only if you choose the right choice. In other words, there's just one right choice, and if you're free, you let me change my sentence. And if you will only be free if you choose that one. And then, of course, I don't know if you stop to think a little bit. Like, wait a moment. So you're telling me that I'm free to choose whatever I want, but there's just one option? Yeah, there's only one option. Why? Because we have freedom, but we are dependent things. It means that deep inside, I have made up my mind. Deep inside, I was created to choose God. Deep inside, I was created to choose what is right. Right? But I'm free. I'm independent. This dependent thing that I am, this thing that is incomplete without the proper decision, this thing that is sad and desperate without choosing what it must choose, this thing is independent. Independent to choose not, independent to choose not what he really wants to choose. Independent to be slave to other things that will distract him from what he really wants. So I really want God, but I am independent to lie to myself and say that I really want, I don't know, food more than anything, or I really want glory more than anything, or I really want women more than anything, or whatever. So, see, I can choose 100 paths, around 100 wrong paths, but then I will be choosing to be a slave and denying what I really want. So, in any of those hundreds or millions of choices, I will not be free. I will be free if I obey what I really want. And then there's just this choice, right? Maybe it's connected to the first sentence of Anna Karenina by Tolstoy, right? The first sentence of Anna Karenina is, or if you want to pronounce Karenina, right, is uh, all happy families are alike, but each unhappy family is unhappy in its manner, in its own way. If we try to connect those two things and think in the level of the individual, everybody who is free and chooses what he really wants chooses the same thing, that is to accept the truth, right? Now, there are billion ways of being wrong, right? And just one way of being right. So going back to Chesterton here, we might even say he was always defending the independence, you can choose whatever you want, of dependent things, but you will still be dependent. So then we can also understand part of the suffering in hell. Part of the suffering in hell is the person will spend the whole eternity denying what he really wants, lying to himself. And this contradiction, this wanting and not wanting at the same time, is part of the suffering there.